Hello, 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 and welcome back to March Payne's Midlife Dolly Crisis. And today I'm very happy to be taking part in a Dark Academia collaboration, which was initially created by Tammy Powley over at Peacecraft Dolls with Tammy Powley and Karen over at Starches and Stitches. And they very kindly allowed myself and Kim from the Dolls, the Witch and the Wardrobe to tag along on it. As you may know, Virtual Doll Convention have been releasing over the last couple of months a doll a month, and they've been designed by Robert Tonner, and essentially they've been in the style of Dark Academia. So they're essentially in the sort of the Ellowyne Wilde family of dolls, and as I say, they've been kind of designed around the idea of Dark Academia, which is one of those styles which I think means different things to different people. So whenever I hear it, I immediately think of kind of Victorian style, sort of Victoriana meets steampunk. Mainly because I always think of Dark Academia as people, you know, going around solving mysteries, featuring characters in an academic setting. But I always kind of picture them as in Victorian style. So I don't know if anyone remembers, but when I originally got this gal here, so this is my Adrift, Ellowyne. She came in what I would say was quite an academic look. So initially I was going to use her to be the model for today's collaboration. However, I then decided I might give this gal a whirl here. So this doll, if you remember, she looks a bit different now. So she was Desolate Dreams Ellowyne, and you may remember that originally her hair was very kind of curled and kind of up. So I've actually washed the hair because it was getting on my nerves, just to kind of get rid of that whole kind of producty stuff. So I washed it, and it's very nice loose. There's still kind of curl to it. And obviously it's a lot longer than it was. Now, she was rooted in a way that the back of her hair is a lot thinner than the rest of it. However, if you kind of tie it up, and I've put a clip in for now, but I might make it a bit more permanent by putting a rubber band or something around it. And I actually quite like that look. If you do that, you don't really notice that there's any kind of thinness at the back. And I actually kind of really like the doll a lot more now with this kind of look. So I thought I would use her. I also kind of like the sort of the dark lipstick that she's got on. I mean, it's not dissimilar in a way to Adrift, but I kind of feel like this doll deserves some time to sort of shine in the spotlight, perhaps. So we're going to use her today. So as I mentioned, I kind of think of the whole Dark Academia look as being quite sort of Victorian. So I need to kind of make some stuff for this. I did have some items put aside. So I've got this shirt / blouse. So this was from Adrift, which I've already mentioned. I don't know if this is going to go with anything else, so I'm not sure if I am going to use this or not. The other thing is I wanted something to go over that, and I was very kindly sent a pattern, a knitting pattern from Knits for Dolls, and I will put a link down to their socials in the description box, and also to their website. So this is a two-piece outfit. Now, I did make two pieces, but I will show you those in a separate video. But I was thinking this top bit here, which I've got here in red, I could probably use with this outfit as kind of like a pullover or a slip over. I don't really know what they're called in other places, but it's almost like a vest that you put over, like a woolen vest that you put over something. So I kind of feel that could work, because the other thing I always think of when I think of Dark Academia is that it's quite a layered look. And I think that's kind of goes with the whole Victoriana kind of feel about it as well, that's in my head. Whether or not it's going to work, I don't know. The other issue I've got is I don't really have any sort of long flowy skirts, apart from obviously the one that she's currently wearing, which is from the Pensive in Paris outfit. So this is like a circle skirt, so it's obviously quite flowy. It is kind of long. It's kind of mid-calf, I guess. Maybe I could do something a bit longer. So I do actually have two fabrics here. One of which is a shirt, which I'm kindly donating because I can't do it up. So I kind of thought, why not try and use the fabric from this, because it's very cute fabric. And I've also got this. I don't know if this is too sort of bright and patterny. I don't know. I'm kind of veering more towards this now. I'm seeing it next to her. So maybe I'll use this. But this one was nice as well, in that it's got roses on and flowers and stuff like that, and we've got this dark background. Looking at it now, I can't tell if this is actually a black background or like a dark navy. In which case this might not look bad next to that. The other thing that I've also got, which I want to use, is this. So this is a bag that I bought from AliExpress. So initially it came as a keyring, which I've removed the keyring part from it. But I was hoping it was going to be the right size for a doll at least. And it works pretty well on the 1/4 scale doll. I wanted something that looked a bit like a satchel. Now obviously it does not have a kind of a long sort of satchel strap. It's got just kind of one that a hand will go through. But that's also kind of an option to go with the outfit. Shoe-wise, we'll have a look later. I've got quite a few kind of brownish shoes, which might go with the bag a bit. But I've also got a really nice sort of black pair, which came with Truly Madly plaid or plaid. So that they might work quite well. So I am going to decide which of these I'm going to use and then try and make something. So what I was saying earlier was I might try and recreate this skirt here in one of these fabrics. I don't know how difficult it's going to be. I should mention that I have recently made a skirt actually, which I'm going to show you now, just because why not? So I actually made this skirt, and this is the first thing I've ever made for a doll using my sewing machine. And I hadn't had my sewing machine out in probably 8 years or so. So I was thrilled just to be able to actually get the thread in again, because that took some doing as well, and trying to kind of follow the instructions for that. So actually being able to sew something was pretty amazing. Now, this was from a pattern by Tammy. I will put a link down to the video where she goes through this pattern for you, just in case you want to have a go. It was easy enough. I think if it hadn't been the first thing that I'd been sewing, I might have been able to get it a bit better than I got it. So essentially, I went a bit awry when I was doing the waistband here. I'm also not going to show you the back because it looks not very good. But anyway, look, I'm still quite happy with that. I think if I made this longer, it wouldn't be quite what I want, because I don't think it would come out as much. Whereas if I try and do the circle sort of skirt and make it a bit longer, I think it'll be better, only because it's so kind of, it comes out quite a lot anyway, so I think it might work a bit better than the other one. Okay, so you join me as I'm trying to have a look at the construction of this circle skirt. So it looks like there's not really many pieces. Essentially, the kind of skirt part is one kind of long piece that joins up at the back, and then we have a bit around the waist here. So that bit isn't the issue. I think the issue is just trying to get this kind of shape to it. So I would presume if I were to unpick this, which I'm not going to be doing, that this would kind of go out, but it wouldn't go out completely flat, because it looks almost like it's been cut kind of on a round almost, rather than it being kind of a long strip of fabric which they've kind of gathered, because there's no real sort of gathering here either. So I think rather than trying to do any kind of gathering, I'm going to attempt to do it as a kind of flat piece. But obviously here, I think will be more kind of like a kind of a segment cut out of it, and then you can kind of join it together. I don't mind if it's not as big as this, first of all. So I'm not going to worry too much about if it's not flowy enough. I really just want to get it quite long. In my head, I kind of know what I want to do, but whether or not it's going to happen or not, I don't know. I also think with this pattern, it's not necessarily going to matter if some of it is upside down or the right way, because it could literally be kind of either way, because some of the flowers look like they're going down, some of them look like they're going up. Okay, so after a bit of struggle, I found some paper that I thought might be big enough, so I actually got some greaseproof paper from the kitchen, because it's on a roll, so it's kind of easier just to kind of tear a bit off. I did try using A4, but that was no way that was going to work for this. So I then got a plate, and very scientifically I put the plate on the paper and I drew around it, but didn't draw around the actual plate. I drew a couple of inches more than bigger than the plate, because the plate was kind of the same size as this, but I needed it to be a bit longer. So that's what I've kind of done. You can't really tell that much from looking at it like this. If I take that off, you can kind of see what I've tried to do. I've left a hole in the middle, obviously, for her waist. I wanted to leave about 15 centimetres, so I think that is kind of about right. But obviously, you know, I can kind of fiddle around, I guess, with the skirt once it's actually kind of made, or at least once I've cut this bit out, it might give me some more ideas. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Okay, so I've done a bit of cutting out. So I basically decided, rather than try and cut out the whole of the round thing, I would do it in half. And then, obviously this is a real trick with cutting out patterns that I'm sure you're all aware of. Essentially, you then fold the fabric in two, put this on one side, and then just cut around that. So you should hopefully have it looking kind of symmetrical. So I did also cut up one side. Essentially, I did cut the middle bit out, and it did kind of slide on her, but obviously I was going to leave it like that because it was too big anyway. So look, this is kind of what it looks like when it's fully out. I don't think it's very even, unfortunately, but you might not notice because it will hopefully drape a bit when it's on her. So here's the final look. She's posed a little bit oddly because I put her arm out so she can hold the bag, but the bag kind of crushes the skirt a little bit, so I wanted to kind of show the skirt first. So the skirt is now more or less fully sewn. I hemmed the bottom of it. I also hemmed the sides. It's less of a circle skirt now, more of a kind of a wraparound skirt. I did manage to screw up a bit on the waistband. Okay, so if you can see the waistband there. So originally it was kind of double the height, and I tried to sew it on so that I could sew it on the front and the back, and I took them under on both sides, you know, obviously to sort of hide the raw edge, and then I kind of went along it with the sewing machine. But it went a bit wrong and a bit awry, so I ended up then folding what I had back over on itself to the front, and then just kind of trying to sew down the middle of it just to kind of keep it together. I think it actually works okay. And on the original circle skirt, which this is kind of designed on, that also had a very kind of thin waistband on it as well. So yeah, I'm quite happy with that. I really like the look of it as well. I think it works very well, and I like the shape of it. Because it's kind of more of a wraparound now, you can kind of see another layer underneath because it's not kind of precise to her measurements, in that there is, you know, there's spare skirt under there as well. I did try and put an underskirt under it, but it just looked too poofy, and it was literally kind of very kind of stiff and sticking out. So because I want to put it on display in this, if I'd have the dress sort of sticking out, it would be hard to kind of get other dolls next to her. So I decided I didn't like the shape of it, and I prefer the shape of it a bit kind of looser and a bit more flowy. To try and tie in with the skirt, I have given her a little tie made from the same material. I didn't hem it. I basically just cut a strip, and then I basically tied it as you would tie, you know, as a man's tie. And I just put it under the collar there, and obviously it's under the red slip over, which is there as well. I kind of like the whole look. I think it goes quite well together. I know it can be a bit jarring having obviously the blue stripes of the shirt. It would have been nice if I'd had a plain version of this, but you know, I had kind of had to work with what I had, and there was no way I was going to be able to make a blouse or a shirt for the doll. That would have been way above my sort of sewing skills, at least, you know, at the moment. I've also given her a hat. So this was the Tam O'Shanter hat from Truly Madly Played. or Truly Maddy Plaid, whichever version it is. I've kind of put the brim of the hat at the back, so it's kind of given me a bit sort of beret and also a bit sort of 80s. I remember people wearing hats like this during the 80s. The whole look could be kind of like hipstery almost, I think, just because of the way that it looks and the slightly kind of off-kilter sort of patterns. I'm not sure if it's giving up dark academia. I'd like to think that it is. I think she does look quite studenty or kind of academic. Obviously, she's also got her briefcase or satchel there, so that works quite well. I've also left the brown shoes on that she originally had. I was going to give her the black shoes from Truly Madly Plaid, but I kind of felt these worked better and I wanted something else that was brown to try and match with the bag. Although the browns are actually quite different. They're still kind of brown, so, you know, they kind of work a little bit together. Overall, I am actually really pleased with how it looks, particularly having made the skirt. And, you know, I haven't really sewn anything on my sewing machine for a very long time. And the only thing I used my sewing machine for before was essentially to either make curtains or to hem my trousers. And obviously neither of these things are particularly, you know, delicate work, and obviously this is on a much smaller scale. So to actually be able to make an outfit or, you know, make a skirt, I'm quite proud of it. I think it works quite well. I have to admit, using a sewing machine for me has been quite tricky. I feel as though it's running away with me, which I don't like. I guess it's a kind of confidence thing. Once I've used it for a bit longer, perhaps I'll feel a bit more confident with it. Hopefully. So, what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, please go and check out Tammy over at Peacecraft Dolls with Tammy Powley, Karen over at Starches and Stitches, and Kim over at The Dolls, the Witch and the Wardrobe. And I will put links to their channels in my description box below. And go over and see what they've done for their Dark Academia Tonner doll look. I'm certainly going to be going over and having a look myself. If you've enjoyed the video, please give it a like. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already. And please join me again for another video soon. So until then, take care. Bye.